Have you ever considered how deeply a childhood event can shape and mold a person's life? This question invites us to explore the profound concept of childhood trauma, a phenomenon that impacts a person's life in ways both seen and unseen. Childhood trauma is not simply a single event that happens and then is over. Rather, it is an experience that leaves a mark, a scar that can impact every facet of a person's life. It can affect how we perceive the world, how we interact with others, and how we view ourselves. In essence, childhood trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience during one's formative years. This can range from emotional, physical, or sexual abuse to neglect or the loss of a loved one. The repercussions of such experiences stretch far beyond the immediate moment, often seeping into adulthood and influencing a person's behaviors, relationships, and mental health. A common misconception is that time heals all wounds. While it's true that time can lessen the sting of physical injuries, the wounds inflicted by childhood trauma are not so easily mended. The echoes of past pain can linger, resurfacing in moments of stress or triggering situations. This is not to say that healing is impossible. On the contrary, understanding the nature and impact of childhood trauma is the first step towards healing. But it's important to recognize that time alone cannot erase these deep-seated scars. Healing from childhood trauma involves acknowledging the pain, seeking professional help, and engaging in consistent self-care. It's a journey, one that requires patience, perseverance, and compassion towards oneself. So, why is it important to understand childhood trauma? Because it's more common than we think. Many of us, or those we know, might be carrying the weight of past traumas without even realizing it. By shining a light on this issue, we can foster empathy, promote healing, and ultimately, create a more understanding society. Childhood trauma, as we've seen, leaves an indelible mark that time alone cannot erase. Did you know we come into this world bearing the seeds of vulnerability? Indeed, from the moment we take our first breath, vulnerability is woven into our very being. We are born as blank slates, entirely dependent on others for survival. And this innate vulnerability remains with us as we navigate the journey of life. As we grow and evolve, our experiences in these formative years play a crucial role in shaping our emotional health. Infants and young children are like sponges, soaking up the world around them. They learn from every interaction, every word, every gesture. And it's in these early years that our patterns of vulnerability are first formed. Think of it as the initial sketch on a canvas. This sketch will serve as the foundation for the masterpiece that is our life. The lines drawn in these early years are not easily erased. They can be painted over, modified, or even embellished, but their imprint remains, influencing every subsequent layer of paint. So, what does this mean for us? Well, it means that the lessons we learn about love, trust, and safety as children stay with us. They influence how we perceive ourselves, how we interact with others, and how we cope with the challenges life throws at us. If a child is nurtured, supported, and loved, they are likely to develop a healthy sense of self and positive coping mechanisms. On the other hand, a child who experiences neglect, abuse, or trauma may learn to associate vulnerability with pain and fear, leading to a range of emotional difficulties in adulthood. This is not to say that our fate is sealed in childhood. Humans are remarkably resilient, and it's never too late to learn new ways of being and relating. However, acknowledging the profound impact of our early experiences is a crucial step in understanding ourselves and our vulnerabilities. So, as we delve deeper into the realms of trauma, grief, and emotional distress, let's remember the role our formative years play in shaping these experiences. After all, understanding our past is key to navigating our present and future. Indeed, our early years play a significant role in molding our emotional health and vulnerability. Ever wonder why societal expectations seem to weigh so heavily on us? From the moment we are born, we are inundated with an array of societal norms and expectations, like invisible guide rails shaping our lives. These expectations often come from our parents, our teachers, our peers, and even the media. We are taught how to behave, what to aspire to, and even what to value. But here's the rub. These expectations, while well-intentioned, can sometimes feel like a heavy weight on our shoulders. They can squeeze us into boxes that don't quite fit, push us down paths that don't align with our true selves. This weight can lead to a profound sense of dissatisfaction, as we constantly strive to meet these arbitrary standards, only to find that they seldom bring us true fulfillment. Why is this the case? Well, it all comes down to authenticity. When we live our lives according to someone else's script, we lose touch with who we really are. Our genuine desires, interests, and passions can get buried under a mountain of shoulds and musts, and this can have serious implications for our emotional well-being. It can lead to feelings of inadequacy, as we constantly compare ourselves to these societal benchmarks and find ourselves coming up short. It can breed resentment as we grapple with the disconnect between who we are and who we're expected to be. It can even trigger anxiety and depression as we try to navigate the chasm between our authentic selves and the personas we present to the world. But here's the good news. We have the power to challenge these expectations. We have the ability to redefine success on our own terms, to pursue our own passions, to live our lives in a way that feels true to us. It's not easy, and it's not without its challenges, but it's an essential part of reclaiming our emotional health. Clearly, the societal expectations we carry can be a significant source of emotional distress. But remember, you have the power to lift that weight, to chart your own course, and to find your own version of fulfillment. Can you imagine a world where grief doesn't exist? This may sound like a utopian dream, but in reality, it would mean a world devoid of empathy, compassion, and deep human connection. You see, grief, as painful as it may be, is an essential part of life. Grief is our emotional response to loss. It's a natural process that allows us to acknowledge, express, and eventually accept the pain we feel when we lose someone or something important to us. It's a journey that takes us from the depths of sorrow to a place of acceptance and understanding. It's the price we pay for love and connection. Yet in our society, we often find ourselves suppressing grief, as if it's something shameful or abnormal. We're encouraged to move on quickly, to be strong, and to hide our pain. But this suppression of grief can have serious consequences. It can lead to emotional distress, depressive symptoms, and even physical health problems. Our ability to grieve is directly linked to our capacity to love and to connect with others. It's through grief that we learn about the value of relationships, the impermanence of life, and the importance of cherishing the moments we have. It's crucial to allow ourselves to grieve, to feel the pain, and to express our feelings. By doing so, we honor our loss, we validate our feelings, and we begin the healing process. It's okay to cry, to feel sad, to be angry, or to feel numb. These are all normal reactions to loss. It's also important to remember that everyone grieves differently. There's no right or wrong way to grieve, and there's no set timeline for the grieving process. Some people may find comfort in sharing their feelings with others, while others may prefer to grieve in private. It's about finding what works best for you. As we've seen, grief is not something to be avoided or suppressed, but rather a vital part of our human experience. It's through grieving that we grow, that we learn, and that we become more empathetic and compassionate. So let's embrace grief as an essential part of life, a testament to our capacity to love and to connect with others. Have you ever felt like your past reactions are dominating your present? It's a feeling many of us are all too familiar with. Our past experiences, especially the traumatic ones, often have a way of overshadowing our present and shaping our reactions and behaviors. Let's delve into this concept a bit further. Imagine you're walking down a familiar street, and suddenly a certain scent, a specific sound, or a particular sight triggers a memory, a flashback from your past. It's not just a mere recollection, but an emotional time travel that takes you right back to that moment, that situation, that trauma. This is not an uncommon phenomenon. Our brains are wired to remember and learn from past experiences to protect us from future threats. This is particularly true for traumatic experiences. These experiences leave a deep impression on our brains, creating a kind of blueprint that influences how we react to similar situations in the future. Unfortunately, this can also lead to a pattern of overreaction or avoidance. For instance, if you've been bitten by a dog in your childhood, you might find yourself feeling anxious or fearful around all dogs, even the friendly ones, in your adulthood. This is your past dominating your present, steering your reactions based on a traumatic event that happened years, maybe even decades ago. These lingering effects of past trauma can also manifest as emotional distress, anxiety disorders, and other mental health problems. They can impact our relationships, our self-esteem, and our overall quality of life. They can make us feel stuck, trapped in our past, unable to live fully in the present. But it's important to remember that while our past can shape us, it doesn't have to define us. With the right help and support, we can learn to understand and manage these reactions, to break free from the dominance of the past, and to live more fully in the present. It's clear that our past, particularly traumatic experiences, can have a strong influence on our present. But it's equally clear that we have the power to change how these experiences affect us, and that's a journey worth embarking on. Have you ever struggled to identify with the people you admire? This is a question that most of us have grappled with at some point in our lives. Identification is a complex process, deeply intertwined with our sense of self. We all yearn to connect and relate to those we look up to, whether they are celebrities, mentors, or even fictional characters. This need to identify is a fundamental part of our human nature, a driving force that shapes our aspirations and molds our identity. However, the process of identification isn't always straightforward. It can be challenging, even disheartening, when we find it difficult to see ourselves in the people we admire. This struggle often stems from the fact that we are all unique individuals with our own experiences, perspectives, and emotional landscapes. The people we admire are no different. They too have their own distinct narratives, which may not always align with our own. Moreover, our sense of self is not static. It evolves over time, influenced by our experiences, our interactions, and our personal growth. As we develop and change, so too does our ability to identify with others. What once seemed relatable may no longer resonate with us. This can lead to a sense of disconnection, a feeling of being out of sync with those we once admired. Yet it's important to remember that this struggle is not a failing on our part. It's a testament to our individuality, our unique journey of self-discovery. It's an invitation to delve deeper into our own narrative, to explore our identity beyond the confines of identification. So the next time you find yourself struggling to identify with someone you admire, take a moment to reflect. Remember that it's okay to feel disconnected, it's okay to be different, it's okay to be you. Identification, as we've seen, is a complex process that can greatly influence our sense of self. Did you know that no two children, even if raised in similar environments, have the same childhood experiences? This might sound surprising, but it's a fact that stands true across time and cultures. You see, childhood experiences are shaped by a wide variety of factors, and while the environment plays a crucial role, it's far from being the only determinant. Let's take twins as an example, born and raised in the same family, sharing the same genes and environment. Despite these similarities, their experiences can still diverge dramatically. Why? Because each child perceives and interprets the world around them in their unique way. This perception is influenced by their inherent personality traits, their interactions with others, and their individual emotional responses to events. So even if two children are exposed to the same external circumstances, their internal processing of these circumstances can differ vastly, leading to unique experiences. Moreover, the relationship each child forms with their caregivers, siblings, and peers also contributes to their unique experiences. Emotional bonds, attachment styles, and the level of emotional support received can significantly vary, even within the same family setting. And let's not forget about the timing of experiences. The impact of an event can differ greatly depending on the child's age and developmental stage. An event that might seem trivial to an adult can have a profound effect on a child, shaping their beliefs, behaviors, and emotional responses for years to come. Lastly, the societal context in which a child grows up also plays a significant role. The cultural values, societal norms, and historical events of the time can greatly influence a child's experiences and their understanding of the world. So while it might seem that children raised in similar environments would have similar experiences, the reality is far more complex. Each child navigates through their childhood in their own unique way, interpreting and responding to their environment based on their individual personality, relationships, timing, and societal context. Indeed, each childhood experience is unique, shaping each individual in distinct ways. So, what does all this mean for our understanding of childhood trauma, vulnerability, and grief? We've taken a deep dive into these complex concepts, peeling back the layers to reveal their intricate connections to our emotional health. The journey has been profound, enlightening, and at times difficult. Yet it's through this exploration that we can truly begin to understand and empathize with the experiences of others and ourselves. Childhood trauma isn't just a phase that passes as the calendar pages turn. It's a deeply ingrained experience that can shape our emotional responses and behaviors well into adulthood. Time alone does not heal these wounds. Instead, healing requires introspection, understanding, and often professional support. We've also explored vulnerability, a trait we're all born with. It's an essential part of our humanity that remains with us throughout our lives. Vulnerability is not a weakness, but rather a strength that allows us to connect deeply with others. Then we've grappled with societal expectations, those invisible pressures that can often lead us astray from our true selves. We've debunked the myth that there's such a thing as loving a child too much and highlighted the importance of authentic, unconditional love in a child's life. We've acknowledged grief as a necessary part of life, rather than something to be avoided or suppressed. Grief is a raw, emotional response that deserves to be honored and processed in its own time. We've emphasized that no two childhoods are the same, even when the environment might be similar. Each child's experience is unique, shaped by a myriad of factors both within and outside their control. Finally, remember that identification is a complex process. We often struggle to identify with the people we look up to, and that's okay. It's part of our journey to finding our own identity. In understanding these concepts, we're better equipped to navigate our emotional landscape and help others do the same. Thank you for joining me today, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video if you found it helpful.